What's up everybody, welcome back to another episode of Hammerdown Ranked, where we rank the albums of some of my favourite bands, and today we've got a band from the UK, from a little town called High Wycombe. It is Young Guns. So Young Guns, they formed in the mid-2000s and were part of what was a post-hardcore movement that then evolved into like an alternative British rock scene with bands like Death Havana, Lower Than Atlantis, We Are The Ocean, Mallory Knox and many, many more. Now, unlike some of my previous videos, this band had a very consistent lineup throughout the vast majority of their career, consisting of Gustav Wood, the lead vocalist, Fraser and John Taylor, lead and rhythm guitarists, Simon Mitchell on bass, and Ben Jolliffe on drums. Over the course of their career, they released an EP and 4 albums, but it's the 4 albums that we're going to be ranking today. Their first release, the EP for Mirrors, dropped in 2009, and off the back of that, they got some major success. They ended up supporting both Lost Prophets and Bon Jovi at the O2, which is a pretty big deal. And after that, they released 4 albums between 2010 and 2016. Starting with, in number 4, 2015's Ones and Zeros. So this was the third offering from the band, and prior to this album cycle, they managed to get signed to Virgin EMI Records, which is a massive deal for a band like Young Guns from a little town called High Wycombe in the UK. Most of you probably haven't even heard of that town. I've been there. My band played just below a strip club there once. The first single was called I Want Out, which had some pretty decent success. It's a very catchy song with some great sing-along parts. And after that, they went on to do the Kerrang Tour, which, if you don't know, is a tour here in the UK where 4 or 5 bands each year go on tour all around the UK. I went to a Kerrang tour and saw both Beartooth and Bury Tomorrow about 10 years ago. They also managed to go on tour in the US with Breaking Benjamin. The US was one of the biggest markets for this band, and to tour with Breaking Benjamin across the States is a pretty big deal. Now, I saw them here in the UK during this album cycle, I think it was, at a venue called The Haunt in Brighton, which has now evolved to become Chalk. My personal favourites from the album are Rising Up, absolutely incredible song, very positive and upbeat tune, and also Daylight. Those 2 songs for me, absolutely stunning pieces of work. Now, this album made it to number 21 in the UK album chart, so it did pretty well, and overall this is a great record. For me, ranking the Young Guns albums comes down simply to which of the albums has the most songs that I love the least, because honestly, all of them are amazing. So it's as simple as that. That was the record that comes in number 4, but it's still a great album and I still listen to it pretty regularly. So moving on to number 3, we've got the final offering from the band, 2016's Echoes. The band's final offering was a fantastic record. Some of my personal favourites ended up being on this album, including the catchy and upbeat Bulletproof, which is in my 2 or 3 top Young Guns albums to this day. It's on my running playlist, it's a great song. The emotive Echoes, the anthemic Paranoid, and my personal favourite, the huge sounding Awakening. That song is insane. Now, this album didn't perform as well as the last couple of records in the charts. It only made it to number 40 in the UK album charts. So for this album, we see the only lineup change the band thankfully ever faced. Ben Jolliffe decided to step away for personal reasons to focus on more of a family life, and the position of drums was taken up by Chris Camrada. Overall, another fantastic album, definitely very worth listening to, and since then they've been very quiet. I'm going to circle back to that at the end of the video. But before we do the top 2 albums that Young Guns have to offer, we're going to talk about my shirt today. So the band that we're talking about today is Fort Hope. Now, Fort Hope have been around the block for a little while. The first single came out all the way back in 2013, but they are truly one of my 3 or 4 favourite bands of all time. Thankfully, I'm not ranking anything by them because they're very much still going, and after a lengthy hiatus and a quiet spell during COVID, they are finally back, and they released their Palaces EP earlier on this year with some really incredible songs, including Powers, Anthem of the Blessed, and Sandbags. The band have released an array of EPs and albums over the years. The last album was 2017's The Flood Flowers Volume 1. I have quizzed the band as to whether or not there's going to be a Flood Flowers Volume 2. Who knows? But that album is one of the most stunning pieces of work possible. Now, they're very relevant to this particular video because the bands that were the predecessors to Fort Hope were part of that movement with bands like Death Havana, Young Guns, Don Broco, Mallory Knox, all of those kind of acts. Fort Hope rode the wave a little bit after them. Now, they really are genuinely one of the best bands on the planet. I love those guys so much. I've had them play at both Hammerdown 2017 and at Hammerdown 2023. Might get them back for Hammerdown 2025. I've put the offer out there, let's see how we get on. And they are just some of the loveliest guys to work with. So go and check out Fort Hope. I'm obviously going to put some links in the description of this video. But for now, we're getting back to Young Guns and we're up to the top 2 albums. So in number 2, we've got 2010's All Our Kings Are Dead. Now this album, I have the album cover tattooed right here. Don't know if you can see that. It's a little bit faded now, but I've got the line from this very, very album tattooed on me. This is one of the most awesome albums from this whole alternative rock movement during the late 2000s. Now, this album was pretty rushed to get put together after the success of supporting Bon Jovi, Lost Prophets, and even opening for Guns N' Roses at Reading and Leeds. They really, really needed to solidify themselves with a full record. The EP wasn't enough to cut it. They needed to make sure they got an album out there. So within a handful of months, they managed to put together this awesome piece of work. Now, they recorded it with Justin Hill and Daniel Weller, who are, of course, of the band Sixth, who are very, very renowned producers who worked with a lot of bands in the UK. Now, their first album charted at 43 in the UK album charts, which is not bad for a debut. Crystal Clear, the first single, made it to number 9 in the UK rock charts, and Weight of the World, which ended up being the biggest song on the album, made it to 27 in the UK rock singles chart. Some huge sounding songs on there, including Weight of the World, DOA, that's one of my favourites, but the song Elements, that has the most catchy, upbeat, jumpy intro. Thankfully, they recycle it after the choruses. It's an awesome, awesome tune. So bouncy, so energetic. Love that song. Others like Endless Grey and, of course, the beautiful At the Gates. An album filled with bangers. It's an incredible body of work, and you should definitely check it out. Clearly, I like it, or I wouldn't have it permanently on my skin, but that album was surpassed by our number one 2012's Bones. This was their iconic album, the album that sent them into the stratosphere. It was after this album they got signed to Virgin EMI, so it clearly did wonders for the band. Now, they recorded it with Dan Weller over in Thailand, and the first single, Learn My Lesson, great song, but it was of course massively overshadowed by the title track for the album, Bones. Now, Bones absolutely blew the band up. It spent 32 weeks on the Billboard mainstream rock charts, eventually reaching number 1. It also reached number 20 in the UK rock charts and has gone on to become their biggest music video on YouTube, amassing 11 million views to date. Things went wild after that. They ended up supporting bands like Cedar, Bullet for My Valentine, Hailstorm, some massive names all across the UK and the US. Bones was even selected to be one of the main songs on WrestleMania on the 7th of April 2013, which is a pretty cool thing. Now, some of the songs on here, Headlights, amazing tune. Obviously, Bones is epic. My personal favourite on the album is Towers on My Way. That song is only 2 minutes and 39 seconds. It's such a tiny song. Sometimes there's a tendency with a lot of bands to put filler into the songs and make them 4 minutes long. That is 2 minutes and 39 seconds of absolute magic. Incredible song. And the album ends with the lullaby-esque Broadfields, which is a wonderful piece of work as well. This reached number 19 in the UK album chart, so it was the most successful record that they ever put out. Overall, this album is an absolute wonder from front to back. So where are Young Guns now? What's happened? 4 albums in 6 years, and now they're not here at all. Well, it's a strange situation, really. Gustav Wood has gone on in many interviews to say that they've been working on new material, that they weren't going to release an album in 2018, but probably 2019, and years have ticked on by since then with no new music whatsoever. But the band have still been playing shows, and as recently as 2000 Trees Festival in 2022, which was a major slot at a major UK festival. So they're still active, they're still going. Ben Jolliffe has rejoined the band the last couple of years, and so they're still kind of active. But they haven't put out a record in 8 years now, and I really, really hope if people keep talking about the band like we are here today, that hopefully it will kick them up the bum to get something out, because if there's any doubt in their minds whether people care or not still, they definitely do. This band are awesome. Everybody would welcome them back with open arms, and we would love to see a 5th record from Young Guns. And if you see this video, release some music. We love you. But anyway, thank you so much, everybody. Like and subscribe, please. Do drop some comments down below. Do you think I got this right? Also, check out Fort Hope. There will be some links in the description. They are one of my favourite bands ever. They really, really are. We'll see you all very soon.